Hi friends, it's Walter Zemrock from the Love from Lizi design team, here with a video for you today of 4 cards that I made using the June Crystal Slipper card kit. Also, you will hear me reference a video that I have on my YouTube channel, which shows how I used the stamps from the kit and some shrink plastic to create some really cute plastic charms to go along with the charms from the kit. I hope you enjoy this video. For this card, we'll be using a white A2 card base, a piece of the printed cardstock, a piece of the blue cardstock, a piece of the brushed silver cardstock, several pieces of the ephemera, the die from the kit, this beautiful border, and the stamps, a sentiment from the stamp set. I take some blue ink, preferably a darker blue similar to a navy, and ink blend it all over the blue card panel. This is going to create the nighttime sky for our background. With that blended, I align the 2 pieces of the cardstock and attach the die, making sure that when I cut out the die, it is going to allow for space for that beautiful border. I use some low tack tape and send it through my die cut machine. Cutting it this way ensures that my pieces will align perfectly when I'm done. I previously used the die and the brushed silver cardstock to cut out an inlay, so I begin this part of the card by putting some glue onto the back of that inlay. I keep the pink printed cardstock as a guide and set the castle inlay onto the background. With the castle in place, I take some gel pens and color parts of the castle, including the door and the inside of some of the windows. This is just another nice little detail to help set your card apart. I now take the fairy godmother and put some double-sided foam tape onto the back of the piece of ephemera to be able to put it down onto the base. And I then do the same for Cinderella. And with both characters placed onto the card panel, I adhere some double-sided foam tape onto the back of that for further dimension. I adhere the panel onto the card base. And then glue down the beautiful border at the top of the card. I really love the shine of that border. I stamp my sentiment strip and then glue it down to the card. Some gems from the kit are added to give it some extra sparkle in the sky. And just like that, our first card is complete. For the second card, we'll be using an A2 card base made from the light blue cardstock, this beautiful printed card panel, a strip of white for a sentiment, be using the pillow ephemera as well as two crowns, a blue one and a pink one. We'll be using a sentiment from the stamp set, and we'll be using some of the pull-off strips. I adhere the printed cardstock to the card panel using some double-sided tape. And then take some of these beautiful blue and silver peel-off strips and run them around the outside space between the card base and the card panel. I start on one side by laying it down, cutting it, and then I repeat that for the other three sides. And then I take the really pretty silver peel-offs and on the card panel create a frame around the inside, laying it down onto one side and repeating it. With that in place, I put some glue onto the pillow and then put it into place on the card. And then put some double-sided foam tape onto the blue crown and set it in place onto the pillow. And then repeat and do the same thing with the pink crown, putting some double-sided foam tape onto it and then setting it into place. I stamp my sentiment onto the strip and cut it down to the correct size. And then use the thin silver pull-offs to create a frame around it. I then use some double-sided foam tape strips to adhere the sentiment down to the card. I add some gems around the card for some extra sparkle. And another card is done. This card starts with a pink A2 sized card base that I fold and burnish. And then use double-sided tape to adhere a white card panel onto it. While holding the pumpkin coach ephemera in place on the patterned paper, I use a pencil and a ruler to draw a rectangle around it so that I know what size of window to cut out of the patterned paper. and then use my ruler and an X-Acto knife to cut the rectangle out. With the window cut, I add some double-sided foam tape strips onto the back of that piece of cardstock with the window in it. And then take the remaining piece of the patterned paper, adhere it down to the piece of purple cardstock using double-sided tape, and then use craft glue to glue the pumpkin coach onto that strip of paper. Double-sided tape is added to the back of that panel, and it's adhered down to the card base. I then take the frame panel, remove the backing from the double-sided foam tape, and adhere it down onto the card. I find it easier to align the two by holding them up straight and then pressing them together. I then slide the window into place to make sure that it fits correctly, and it does. It has a nice snug fit. I then glue ephemera into place on the window, putting the pumpkins into position, and then ultimately gluing the magic wand into position. I add a strip of white cardstock onto the back of the magic wand by gluing it into place. This will allow you to more easily lift up the window out of the card base. And I use a black marker to write the word pull. I stamped out my sentiment onto a small strip of white cardstock and put some double-sided foam tape onto the back of it, and then adhere it down onto the card. These pink glitter pull-off strips will make a wonderful border around the frame of the window. So I put one onto one side, cut it to size, and then repeat and do the same going around the remaining portion of the window. I add some gems to add a little bit more sparkle to the card. And our magic window card is complete. Isn't it cute? For this card, I use a top fold A2 white card base, a piece of the printed cardstock, some of the pink glitter cardstock, the brushed silver cardstock, the die from the set, one of the Cinderella ephemera, a piece of ribbon, some of the charms from the kit, and a sentiment strip. I begin by using the die to cut an oval window out of the piece of printed cardstock. I then use the die to cut the shape out of the brushed silver cardstock. And lastly, use the die to cut the piece out of the pink glitter cardstock. I add some craft glue onto the back of the brushed silver cutout, making sure to get it into all the places so that you get a nice secure fit. And then press it down onto the pink glitter cardstock. And use my detail scissors to cut it out. I then use a hook tool to poke a hole on the left side of the oval cutout and the right side. I then put my charms onto the ribbon. This includes the silver shoe and the clock from the kit, as well as 3 charms that I made using shrink plastic and stamps from the kit. I have a video on my YouTube channel in case you'd like to see the process of using the shrink plastic to create these charms. I've included a link to it down below in the comments. With the charms in place, I then go ahead and put one end of the ribbon through the hole on the left side of the oval, and then do the same through the hole on the right side of the oval. Doing this essentially strings the charms across the front of the oval. And here is what that looks like. When happy with the placement, I use some craft glue to glue the ribbon to the back of the card panel to make sure that it stays secure in place. And I follow that up by taking some double-sided foam tape strips and adhering it around the back of the panel and making sure that it also goes over the ribbon to further hold it into place. And I then adhere that panel to the card base. I find it easier to adhere it into place by holding it to make sure that it's going to be centered in exactly how I like it. I also play around with the placement of the charms to make sure that they're where I would like them. I put some craft glue onto the back of the brushed silver castle cutout that's on the pink glitter paper, and then set that into the oval on the card base. I take our piece of Cinderella ephemera, put some craft glue onto her, and then glue her down to the card base. I stamp our sentiment onto a strip of white cardstock. And then use some of the silver peel-offs to form a frame around the sentiment. Craft glue is put onto the back of the sentiment, and I adhere it into place. And with that, our Cinderella charm card is complete. I think the charms add a lot of fun and whimsy to the overall design, and they're a lot of fun to make too. So here we are, 4 really fun cards using this absolutely gorgeous June kit from Love from Lizi. A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes. We have Cinderella. We have the Fairy Godmother. We have a beautiful castle in the background. Lots of shimmer, little bit of sparkle in the sky. Lots of fun. We then have So This Is Love. 2 crowns, 1 blue, 1 pink, beautifully framed by these gorgeous pull-off strips. Set against a really fun background of a printed paper from the kit. Really pretty. We then have a fun, whatever you want to call it, magic window card, or a reveal card. Hello Pumpkin. We have the 3 pumpkins. We have the magic wand. And you go ahead and lift that wand and it transforms into that beautiful carriage with the ponies and little Gus Gus holding the clock. It's just so magical and so fun, and would be a ton of fun to give to a child in your life. And last but certainly not least, we have this fun card with charms. Now we have Cinderella, we have the Magic Castle, some sparkle, beautiful patterned paper, again using the sentiment A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, but this time we have the slipper charm that came in the kit, we have the clock kit charm that came in the kit, and then I used the stamp set, some colored pencils, and some shrink plastic to create a pumpkin charm, a crown charm, and a pillow charm. And this kind of tells, I arranged the charms to tell the story of the timeline of Cinderella. You have the pumpkin at the beginning, turning into the clock signifies it turning into the carriage. She meets the prince. She has on that slipper. He ultimately finds her with that slipper resting on a pillow. So it kind of tells the story. I have a video on my YouTube channel. For those who are unfamiliar with shrink plastic, it's really easy to work with. In case you'd like to see how it's done, I have a video on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put a link to that video below in the notes. So thanks for spending this time here with me today. I hope you enjoy these projects, and I'll see you again real soon.